I should have left when Nora asked me to lie for her. We were standing outside her mother's ICU room, and the fluorescent light made her look calmer than she really was. If stories about love, regret, and the moments that quietly change people stay with you, subscribe to VellichorEchoStory. We tell the memories people never forget. She didn't cry when she asked. That was the part that got to me. If she had cried, I think I would have known what to do. But Nora had always been dangerous in that specific way. She could look completely fine while something inside her was caving in. "Ben can't know I left," she said. I stared at her for a second, not because I didn't hear her, but because I was trying to make the sentence fit the night. Her mother had collapsed in her kitchen less than 3 hours earlier. I'd been halfway through reheating leftover soup in my apartment when Ben called and said, "I'm at LaGuardia. They grounded my flight. Nora's alone at Mercy. Can you go?" So I went. That's how some of the worst nights of your life begin. Not with drama, not with music, just with a favor. "I need you to tell him I was here the whole time," she said again, quieter now. "You left?" "For 40 minutes. To do what?" Her eyes moved past me, toward the dark window at the end of the hallway. Rain trembled against the glass. I could hear a machine beeping in the next room, steady and cold. "Please, Eli." That was my first mistake, letting the please matter more than the question. Nora had been my best friend's younger sister since we were teenagers, but that wasn't really true, not in the way it sounds. She wasn't just Ben's sister. She was the girl who used to sit on the top step of their back porch with wet hair and a sweatshirt 3 sizes too big, reading dog-eared paperbacks like the whole neighborhood was too loud for her. She was the only person who came to my father's wake and didn't say she was sorry. She just sat beside me in the church basement, pushed a paper cup of coffee toward me and said, "You look like you might punch the next person who says it." I laughed then. I almost kissed her that night. Instead, I spent the next 15 years becoming the kind of man who leaves before he says the thing that could ruin everything. So when she asked me to lie in a hospital hallway at 1:13 in the morning, I should have said no. Instead, I said, "Was it him?" She frowned. "Was it who?" "The guy who kept texting you." A tired little smile touched her mouth, but not her eyes. "You always did think you knew more than you did." "That isn't a no." "No," she said and exhaled. "It wasn't him." I didn't know whether that made me feel better or worse. We'd been sitting in uncomfortable plastic chairs outside Carol's room for almost 2 hours by then. I'd watched Nora check her phone, lock it, turn it over, pick it up again. She'd barely touched the coffee I bought her from the lobby. The coffee between us had already gone cold. There was a vending machine humming down the hall, a janitor half asleep over a mop bucket, and the strange intimacy of being awake with someone while most of the city wasn't. Her mother was stable, the doctor had said. Stable was one of those hospital words that sounded more generous than it was. She had a bleed, Nora told me earlier, hands wrapped around the coffee cup for warmth she wasn't getting from it. They stopped it. They said the next 12 hours matter. I nodded like that meant something to me, like I knew how to measure fear in medical language. Now she was asking for an alibi. "If Ben asks," she said, "tell him I was getting air. Tell him I was downstairs. Tell him whatever you want, just not that I left." I should have pushed. I should have said I wasn't doing this in the middle of a family emergency. But then she rubbed the heel of her hand against her forehead the way she used to when she was trying not to cry in front of people. And I remembered she hadn't eaten, hadn't sat still, hadn't let herself shake. So I said, "Fine." Her shoulders dropped an inch. That should have been the end of it. It wasn't. Ben got in just before 2, wet from the rain, angry at every airline employee in the state of New York, and carrying guilt like it was part of his luggage. He hugged me hard, then went straight to Nora, touched both her shoulders, looked her over like older brothers do even when everyone involved is too old for it. "You okay?" "Fine." "You've been here the whole time?" I opened my mouth before I could think too much. Yeah, I said. She didn't leave. Nora looked at me then, just for a second. Not grateful exactly. More like she was surprised I'd actually done it. That look stayed with me longer than it should have. Ben went in to see his mother after that, and Nora and I ended up alone again in the hallway. She sat, I stood, neither of us saying thank you or why. The silence between us had history in it, old silence, the kind that builds up over years because nobody wants to be the first to sound foolish. You didn't have to, she said finally. Yeah, I know. She nodded. That irritated me more than if she'd argued. I sat down beside her, not too close. Close enough to smell rain on her coat and that faint citrus soap she'd always used. Or maybe I only thought she always had. Memory lies to you in little ways. What happened? I asked. She kept looking ahead. You really want to know? I'd rather know than guess. That hasn't stopped you before. There it was, small, clean, and sharp. I leaned back in the chair. Still mad at me? She gave a dry laugh. Eli, I'm too tired tonight to sort through all my old resentments alphabetically. Despite myself, I smiled. She noticed. Don't. Don't what? Do that thing where you make me laugh when I'm trying to be annoyed with you. I didn't know that was a thing. She finally looked at me. Prolonged eye contact, the kind people always write songs about and never mention the uncomfortable part of. How you become too aware of your own face, your own breathing, the exact position of your hands. It was a thing, she said softly. Then she looked away first. At 3 a.m, a man in a navy quarter zip showed up carrying a phone charger, 2 protein bars, and an umbrella dripping onto the tile. He was maybe our age, clean cut, tired, familiar in the way people get when they belong to someone else's life. Nora. She stood so fast her knee hit the chair. Simon. I hated how much I disliked him before he'd done anything wrong. He handed her the charger. You weren't answering. My phone died. I know. That's why I brought this. That felt practiced. Intimate in a way I had no right to resent. She introduced us, and Simon shook my hand with the kind of calm grip men use when they don't know yet if you matter. He was her neighbor, she said. He'd picked up Liam from Nora's apartment when everything happened. Liam. Her son. That should have answered the whole mystery, but it didn't. Simon stayed close while he talked to her, voice low, one hand on the back of her chair. Not possessive, just comfortable, which somehow was worse. Liam's asleep, he said. Maggie's staying over, so don't worry about coming back tonight unless you need to. Nora closed her eyes for half a second. Thank you. Ben came back out then, exhausted and raw, and Simon repeated everything for him too. They spoke like men who respected each other. That made it worse in a different way. On paper, my jealousy had no dignity at all. I was 38 years old, divorced, underslept, sitting in a hospital hallway getting possessive over a woman who did not belong to me and had never once promised she might. Still, jealousy doesn't care whether it has a good argument. When Simon left, Nora sat down again and twisted the phone charger cord around her fingers. You could have told me it was Liam, I said. Her face tightened. I didn't tell you anything. Exactly. I didn't realize I owed you a full briefing. You asked me to lie. And you said yes. Something in the way she said it made me feel younger than I was. Like we were back in her mother's kitchen after some party, both pretending the air between us didn't mean anything. Ben fell asleep around 4 with his head tipped against the wall outside Carol's room. I told him I'd stay awake. Nora said she was going to get fresh coffee and motioned with her head for me to follow. I almost didn't. Then I did. The cafeteria was closed, but there was a machine in the lobby that made something legally allowed to be called coffee. We stood near the big glass doors and listened to the rain. It was still coming down, harder now. The parking lot reflected all those blurry orange lights that make even ugly places look cinematic when you're tired enough. You think Simon's my boyfriend, she said. I nearly choked on bad coffee. She didn't smile this time. You wear every feeling on your face when you're too tired to hide it. I don't. You do? I stared out at the rain. Is he? No. I hated how relieved I felt. He's kind, she said. That's all. That's never all. She considered that. Maybe not. There was an awkward silence then, one of those strange living things with a pulse of its own. I could hear the ice machine clattering behind us. Someone laughed at the nurse's station down the hall and immediately hushed themselves. I went home, she said finally. That's where I was. For Liam? Yes. I waited. She wrapped both hands around the paper cup. A police officer brought him there. I turned to her. What? He wasn't arrested. She said it too quickly, like she'd already had to defend that part. He was at a friend's house. Kids were drinking. He got scared. One of them took something from a convenience store, and when the police showed up, everybody ran except my son because he does that when he panics. He freezes. So they called me. Nora. He's 14, Eli. 14. He still sleeps with the hallway light on when he's anxious. And tonight a cop knocked on my door because he was shaking too hard to answer basic questions. Her voice broke on the last word, and she looked furious about it. So that was it. Not an affair. Not some secret lover. Just motherhood and fear, and the humiliating, ordinary mess of loving people who can't protect you from becoming terrified. I didn't tell Ben because he'd make it about how I should have handled the divorce better, or moved to a better school district, or noticed something sooner. And maybe he'd be right, I don't know. She laughed once, but it wasn't really laughter. My mother is upstairs with a tube down her throat, and I spent 40 minutes tonight trying to convince my son he's not broken. She looked away. I'm very tired. That was the moment my irritation vanished, and something older took its place. Tenderness, the dangerous kind. The kind that makes you want to fix what isn't yours to fix. Without thinking, I touched her wrist. It was nothing, barely contact, just my fingers against the inside of her wrist, warm skin and a pulse moving too fast. But she went still. So did I. Accidental touch is a ridiculous phrase for something that can feel that intentional. Her eyes dropped to my hand, then back up to my face. For one stupid second, I thought maybe the whole lobby had gone quiet for us. Then the automatic doors opened and a blast of wet air came through, and we stepped apart like people with better sense. At 6:30, the neurologist told us Carol would probably recover, but slowly. She might have trouble speaking for a while. She'd need rehab. Ben started asking practical questions because that was how he loved people. Nora pressed her lips together and stared at the doctor's hands. By 8, the rain had turned thin and gray, the kind that makes the whole morning look unfinished. Ben went downstairs to call his wife. Nora said she needed clothes from the house for Carol and Liam's backpack from the apartment. I told her I'd drive. I have my car. You haven't slept. Neither have you. Exactly, I said. Bad idea for both of us to be on the road. She looked like she wanted to argue just to keep the balance of things intact. Then she handed me her keys. The drive to her mother's house took 20 minutes through wet suburban streets I hadn't been on in years. Same strip malls. Same little brick ranch houses with flags on porches and overwatered hydrangeas drooping by the steps. Morning traffic hadn't fully started. The world looked paused. Nora rested her head against the passenger window but didn't close her eyes. You still live over by Franklin Avenue? She asked. Yeah. In that apartment above the bakery? I glanced at her. You remember that? She gave a tired shrug. I remember more than you think. That landed somewhere deep. The house smelled exactly the same when we went in. Coffee grounds, old wood, the lavender lotion Carol had used for decades. There are places that refuse to admit time has passed. Ben and Nora's childhood home was one of them. Nora moved through the kitchen opening cabinets, collecting things for the hospital. I stood there feeling suddenly in the way. On the fridge, there was still a faded magnet from a lake trip we'd all taken in high school. Ben shirtless and sunburned, me squinting, Nora in the corner of the photo pretending not to smile at whoever took it. "Liam likes you," she said, not looking at me. "He's spoken maybe 12 words to me. For him, that's basically a podcast." I laughed before I could stop myself. She smiled then, and this time it reached her eyes. Tired eyes, red around the edges, but real. "You okay?" I asked. "No," she said, honest enough now not to decorate it. "You?" I leaned against the counter. "Not really." She nodded like that was the correct answer. There was a half-folded dish towel by the sink, a grocery list in Carol's handwriting, a mug with lipstick on the rim from before everything changed. I think that's what grief really is most of the time, not the dramatic part. The domestic evidence that a normal day had the nerve to exist right before disaster. Nora reached for the cabinet above me at the same time I turned, and the back of her hand brushed my chest. She pulled away immediately, muttering, "Sorry. You don't have to apologize for touching me." The second it came out, I wanted it back. She stared at me, not offended, just very awake all of a sudden. "That sounded more confident than you feel," she said. "That's because I'm exhausted." "No," she said softly. "That part sounded true." I looked down. There are moments when you can either tell the truth or preserve your life as you know it. I had built a career out of choosing the second one. So I picked up the overnight bag and said, "What else do you need?" By noon, we were back at the hospital. Liam was there now too, sitting in the corner with his hoodie pulled over his head, all knees and guilt. I recognized Nora in him immediately, which seemed unfair to both of them. Ben tried to keep things light. He asked about school, basketball, some video game he clearly didn't understand. Liam answered with polite one-word misery. I brought him crackers and a ginger ale from the machine. He looked at me like I'd handed him a legal document. "Your mom said you liked the red ones better," I said, holding up the peanut butter crackers. That got the smallest lift at the corner of his mouth. "She says a lot." "Yeah," I said, "she does." Nora watched that exchange from across the room, arms folded, expression unreadable. Then Simon texted. I knew because I saw her face change. Not soften exactly, just shift. Private. And I hated myself for noticing. Later, while Ben was in with Carol and Liam had fallen asleep across 2 chairs, Nora stepped out to take the call. Through the hallway window, I could see her pacing near the parking garage entrance, one hand in her coat pocket, the other pressed to her forehead. Simon wasn't doing anything wrong. That was the problem. He looked like the kind of man who showed up on time, remembered school pickup schedules, and probably owned matching towels. I was standing there being unfair to a stranger when my phone buzzed. It was my ex-wife, Dana. I almost let it ring out. Then I answered because avoiding things had ruined enough of my life already. She wanted to know whether I'd signed the final paperwork for the condo sale. We were civil now, tender in that careful, post-shipwreck way some divorced people become. We talked about closing dates, a lamp neither of us wanted, whether the realtor could push another week. When I hung up, Nora was back. "You could have taken that outside," she said. I blinked. "What?" "The call. It sounded important." "It was paperwork." "With Dana?" I hadn't realized she knew my ex-wife's ringtone. Then I remembered. Years ago, before everything split apart, she'd heard it enough. "It's nothing," I said. She nodded too quickly. "Of course." That "of course" carried enough hurt to start a small fire. "You thought I was leaving," I said. She laughed once, bitter and embarrassed. "You say that like it would be irrational." "Nora, it's fine." "It's not." She crossed her arms tighter. "You disappear well, Eli. You always have." There it was again, the old wound, still alive, still working underneath everything. I wanted to defend myself, tell her about my father dying young, about my marriage falling apart quietly, about how I'd spent half my adult life mistaking distance for dignity. But excuses sound cheap in hospital hallways, so I said the only thing that was true enough. I know. That night, after Ben finally went home to shower and sit with Liam, I stayed. Nora stayed too. Carol was sleeping. Rain came back around 10, soft this time, tapping against the window like fingers too polite to knock. We sat in the family waiting room with the TV on mute. Some late-night game show flashed bright colors no one cared about. "You want to know why I was mad at you?" she asked. I looked over. "I thought I already did." "No, you thought you knew." "Fair." She tucked one leg under herself in the chair, turned slightly toward me. The room was quiet enough to hear the rain. Somewhere down the hall, a nurse laughed, then the laughter faded. "After your father died," she said, "everybody treated you like glass. Ben especially. He kept saying, 'Give him space, give him time, don't make it harder.' So I did. I gave you space. I gave you so much space you moved to Chicago in it." I swallowed. She went on. "You called Ben. You answered his texts. You came back for holidays and barbecues and his wedding. But every time I walked into a room, you found a reason to leave it. So after a while, I told myself I'd imagined all of it. The porch, the church basement, that night in your truck when you kept holding my hand at red lights like you forgot you were doing it." I'd forgotten nothing. Her voice got smaller. "Do you know what it does to a person to feel something that strong and then have to behave like it was nothing?" I stared at the floor because looking at her felt dangerous. "Nora." "No, let me finish. I got married because I was tired of waiting for a version of my life that never arrived. Not because of you. That would be too dramatic. But you were there, in the silence of it. I let that hit me. I deserved most of it. When Ben's dad had that heart scare," I said after a while, "the night before I moved, Ben came to my apartment." Her eyes lifted to mine. "He told me the family was barely holding together. Your mom was exhausted. Your brother was trying to keep everyone from spinning out. And you were engaged to a guy I didn't trust but couldn't prove anything about." I gave a tired laugh. "He said if I cared about you at all, I wouldn't make your life more complicated right then." Nora stared at me. I asked him if you told him to say that. "And?" He said no. I believed him. She looked away hard, toward the dark TV screen. I wasn't engaged yet. My chest tightened. "I know that now." "No," she said, voice shaking in a way I'd never heard from her. "I mean, I wasn't engaged yet, Eli." He was going to ask. I was already trying to figure out how to say no. The air left me in a slow, ugly way. For a second, neither of us spoke. There are silences that soothe you. That wasn't one of them. This one had teeth. "So all these years?" I said. She smiled, but it hurt to watch. "Yeah." I rubbed a hand over my face. "Ben thought he was helping." "I know." "I thought I was doing the decent thing." "I know that too." "I was in love with you." She shut her eyes. The words had lived in me so long they came out almost calm. "I was in love with you then," I said, quieter now. I think some part of me has been rearranging furniture around that fact ever since. When she opened her eyes, there were tears there. She didn't wipe them away. That was what undid me. Nora always wiped tears away like they'd insulted her. "You don't get to say that like it's a historical detail," she whispered. I laughed once, broken around the edges. I don't know how else to say it. She looked at me for a long time. Her mouth trembled. Then she said, "I hated you for making it look easy." It wasn't easy. I know that now. A nurse pushed through the waiting room doors then, asking for Carol's daughter. Nora stood so fast her chair scraped. I stood too. Carol was awake. Not fully, not for long. but awake enough. We went into the room together. Ben hadn't made it back yet. Liam was with Simon at Nora's apartment. The room smelled like antiseptic and warmed plastic, and something underneath that I can only describe as fear after it has sat down. Carol looked smaller than I remembered. One side of her face was slack, but her eyes were clear. She saw Nora first and tried to speak. "Mom," Nora whispered, taking her hand. "It's okay. Don't force it." Carol's gaze moved to me. Recognition flickered. Then, very slowly, she squeezed my fingers when I touched the bed rail. I don't know if it was the medication or the hour or the way life goes soft around the edges after a crisis, but Carol looked from me to Nora and made a sound that might have been a laugh. Nora leaned closer. "What?" Carol tried again. The words came out fractured, blurred, but we understood enough. "Took long enough." Nora made a sound halfway between a sob and a laugh. I looked down because there are some mercies you shouldn't stare directly at. Ben came back 15 minutes later, and the spell of the room changed. Practical again, family again, doctors, paperwork, questions. Simon brought Liam. There were hugs, tension, relief, the awkward choreography of people trying not to say how scared they'd been. Then Ben found out about the police officer. Not from me, not from Nora, from Liam, who was 14 and exhausted and thought honesty counted extra when adults looked that worried. The hallway argument was quieter than most, which made it worse. "You lied to me?" Ben asked. Nora kept her voice even. "I left for my son. You could have called me. You were in the air. You could have told me after. I knew what you'd do." "And what's that supposed to mean?" "It means," she said, finally sounding tired instead of controlled, "you love people like problems. You rush in, organize them, tell them what they should have done sooner, and call it care." Ben recoiled like she'd slapped him. He wasn't a bad man. That was the sad part. He looked genuinely wounded. Nora and Eli finally stopped running from unfinished feelings. After years of silence, hospital nights, and missed timing, they chose honesty instead. Standing under quiet lights, hand in hand, Nora whispered the only thing that mattered now. "Don't disappear this time.